Hi everyone, I'm Les,
And I'm Ashley.
and you're listening to Anthropotamus, where we explore some of your favorite anthropology topics.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our latest episode of Anthropotamus. Me and Les today will be talking about the book Proto, How One Ancient Language Went Global by Laura Spinney. Spiny. Let's go with Spinney. I don't I don't know how to pronounce it. Apologies if I mispronounced the last name. So Laura Spinney, she's a science journalist and writer based in Paris. So she wrote this book about basically the origins of religion and how it's changed over time based on human movement. Um, the one main thing I think I would like to say about this book is if you're reading it, have a map with you.
So wait, did you say the origins of religion?
Oh, did I say the origins of religion?
Yeah, I think you did.
Wow. Well, I have just started my coffee. Um,
I was gonna say maybe I missed something while I was reading it. I don't because they did talk a little bit
no.
about religion, but
No,
so
origins of language.
yeah, the
Sorry.
Indo-European languages
I'm just gonna keep drinking this.
languages. Okay, so
Anyways,
back to the book.
yeah, back to the book. Proto, how one ancient language went global. Basically, you know, where language started and how it transitioned to different parts of the world and changed. And honestly, I felt like I needed a map while I was listening to it. Um,
Yeah.
Granted, I look at maps all day for work. I'm still horrible at geography. I will not lie about that. Um, it's a lot of descriptions about where people went and how they just went to all these different places and how they connect back to one place.
Yeah.
And
Migration patterns, linguistic links, borrowed words, all these different terms.
Mhm.
I'm not a linguist. I'm not gonna be shy about saying that. I thought the book was super interesting every time I was listening to it, but it is a lot of information. It's very dense.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if because we do Audible often because we're busy, I often listen in the car while I'm driving to work and whatnot, but I'm wondering if this book doesn't come with any PDFs, so I'm wondering if we bought the book, if there'd be pictures for. I know that at least one point there was a picture that they're describing in the book, and I'm like, well, what is this picture that I can't see right now?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if there are maps and stuff in the actual book, and we just don't have access to it.
Yeah, and I imagine that having these maps that help describe the
Movement.
yeah, movement across locations would be useful. I have done some studying in GIS. So I do have an idea of kind of what they were talking about and how it would be depicted on a map, but like without the actual map to reference, it was a little difficult to follow some of it.
Yes, I felt like I was thinking whenever they brought up a new location, all I could imagine was the general area on the map it was. So I felt like I wasn't completely understanding. I don't want to say completely understanding. I don't think understanding is the word, but I couldn't completely,
Visualize.
yeah, visualize the actual route people were taking. But I thought it was also, how do I want to say? I didn't know what to expect because I am not a linguist either. I barely passed intro to linguistics in college, so
Mhm.
um, so I didn't really know what to expect with this. Anybody who has taken intro to linguistics knows it's a lot of sentence formulation, and I don't even remember. I had a horrible teacher, but that's definitely not what this book is. This book has a lot to do with really just the movement of people and how cultures are shared and how people interact. And that's how we share languages and how they evolve over time. So, yeah, if you're into how people move around or the history of people, then this might be the book for you.
I did think that was pretty interesting. Like the most captivating part of the book for me was this the hypothesized movements between or migrations of language between different groups, right? Um, I think there was a point in the book when the author was discussing how a trade route was opened from the steppe towards like deep into the more Asiatic part of the continent. So, like they found evidence of, I think, the Gallic language in like just outside of where modern day China would be. And this would have been like the evidence indicates that it would have been like well before the Silk Road was established. So I thought that was really interesting to see or to read that portion as well. Um,
I
I
did
think
feel like it took a while for her to get to towards the eastern regions of Asia.
yeah,
The first half of the book felt very ethnocentric or European centric.
yeah, Eurocentric.
Yeah, and it was kind of like, okay, when are we getting to the rest of the world?
Hmm.
This is European, Indo, whatever. What do we call it? Euro-Indo
Pro
language.
Proto-Indo-European linguistics.
Hmm. So I felt like that took a minute to get there.
Yeah. Although I think that was kind of I mean, maybe I'm wrong here, but it felt like that was kind of set up like that on purpose so that she could pull the sheet back and reveal things. There was a specific site that was found that the researchers who found the site initially thought that they had European features and that Europeans must have migrated into this area and then spread their language there. But the linguistic evidence did not support that. And then they found out later on that genetically this group of people was native to that area. They had no European roots at all. And in fact, it was more likely that if they looked European, I think this is pretty close to what she said, it was more likely if they looked European that they were ancestors to people who eventually migrated into Europe.
I mean, I mean, at one point we all came from one area and branched out, so
Hmm.
it wouldn't, I don't think, be unusual for people of different ethnic groups to share traits if you
Yeah,
go
that's
back
definitely true.
far enough.
That's definitely true.
So yeah, there is a lot of discussion of DNA and archaeology. Um, I want to say, and it's been actually, I think, been a week or two since I've uh finished listening to this book. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say she's discussing. I guess there was a perspective on language that kind of people closed the door on because it's kind of how like the Nazis thought about race and
Yeah, I
language.
think it was diffusion was the way.
Maybe, and then they kind of like brought eventually came back and which I thought was interesting how yes, we want to like not give credit to people who do evil things, but that doesn't necessarily mean the information they're working with
Yeah,
is wrong. It's just being manipulated.
by the state.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so the state actor level is a little bit it does complicate things. They did have actual scientists working on this
Hmm.
before the war machine like really took hold and everything happened the way it happened. So I imagine they took some of the actual science that was being done and subverted it for their own needs. I think
Hmm.
that's probably well established historically. But yeah, I can definitely see how certain information might have been tainted by their actions. And yeah, they talked about how people it was kind of one of those theories that people didn't want to touch because it had that association, but
Hmm.
there was potentially some validity to it. I'm not exactly certain all the details. I don't remember that part as well, but yeah, I do remember they were talking about that and how what was it down the line they actually used some of that information to place the origin of Proto-Indo-European closer to the Middle East, was it?
No, I don't remember.
Yeah, well. I don't remember the
It
specific
was so
region.
much movement in this book
Yeah, we
that
went
I could
from
not keep up.
yeah, it was all across the continent. Then they say Proto-Indo-European. They really mean it's all the way across the continent, back and forth. A lot of it was very Eurocentric. So you were talking about, I think the first half of the book was centered around
Hmm.
the Caucasus Mountains and the steppe over there. So
But I
it's
mean, I didn't look up the region of the steps. I mean, I had an idea of where the steps were, um, but I didn't look it up till after I finished the book. So the steps is, I mean, if the maps on Google are correct, are like pretty like cover like
a large portion of the
a
continent.
large portion of the continent. So when she keeps referring back to the steps, I'm just like, now I'm kind of like, well, which part of the steps are you talking about?
What did you think about the portion where she was talking about the dichotomy between the hunter-gatherers, the herders, and the farmers?
Oh, and that's where she kind of brought up Cain and Abel, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was, I never, because I mean, my first degree was in religious studies, and I never thought of Cain and Abel like that. And I thought that was actually really interesting.
Yeah, like an
Uh,
allegorical story between the differences of the groups there. It was very
yeah.
interesting.
I mean, it kind of makes sense though, like that they would have, I don't know. I mean, yeah, they had conflict, but then I think we're kind of creating this false image of hunters and like hunter-gatherers and agriculturalists. Because in some areas, like you have, I forgot which, it's in my thesis too. Can't forget, think of the site right now where when you look at the isotopes in the population, it shows that it was a gradual change from like eating a bunch of meat into like grain consumption, right? There's a gradual change within the population to that demonstrates that they probably, didn't just jump into agriculture and
Hmm.
um so I don't really care for this image of here are the hunter-gatherers and here are the agriculturalists and they bumped heads with each other because I don't
Hmm.
I think it was more of a transition in a lot of areas. Um and if you're a hunter-gatherer, you're gonna be I would imagine you would be moving around based on the season.
Hmm.
So I mean, really how much conflict was there?
I kind of figured there would be it wouldn't be quite as distinct as she was describing it. Like there would probably be a lot more uh, population exchange between the two
Hmm.
if there were distinct groups between the
Yeah.
groups. Uh,
I mean,
but
you
it,
would think too, if you're relying on grains for most of your diet and you're not, because, right, because people are starting to specialize in things and they're not like jack of all trades, like maybe a hunter-gatherer would, you think you might actually rely sometimes on the hunter-gatherers in exchange for things like animal products and you can just give them, I don't know, your legumes. I don't know.
I will give you two skins for a legume. Just yeah, but no, I thought that was a really interesting part. I do think that it was probably very um cleaned up for the book,
Hmm.
if that makes sense. Like the edges
Oversimplified.
are yeah, it was way
Yeah.
oversimplified. I also thought that the way she was describing stable wealth versus mobile wealth was interesting though.
Um,
That was the herder versus farmer, or agriculturalist is what she was calling
But
it.
really, is it more? Yes, it's more stable, right? You're going to have a surplus of grains. So there's always something there for you to eat. But what happens when there's drought or flooding?
She talks about that.
Yeah, and then I don't know.
She talked about that a little bit, like where if there's drought and flooding and stuff like that, you're st or the agriculturists have harder times during that time. For most
Hmm.
of the year or for most of their time, they have a surplus and they're good there. But like, you know, 3, 4 seasons in a row of drought can really
Yeah.
upset a population, and then you start seeing um, population exchange migrating out into different groups where you'll have, you know, things that are more stable in that
Mm-hmm.
time period. So I think maybe that could be part of an explanation if we right desimplify it a little bit and talk about how you were saying that there's a gradual change over that time period.
Mm-hmm.
I think you could look at it as there were fluctuations in climate which caused differences in the viability of certain strategies um, until the technology and agricultural knowledge was brought to a level where they could keep it sustainable for a larger, over a longer period of time for, you know,
Mm-hmm.
across different, you know what I'm talking, I was trying to
Yeah.
say. Yeah.
But yeah, that was interesting. Um, Actually kind of makes me kind of want to go back and reread the Bible and kind of look at it
And
in
see if
a
there's any things that you could
well, kind of like
extrapolate.
look at it at a different perspective with because when I read when I was working on my first degree, my plan wasn't I wasn't going at an anthropology perspective, right? It was a
Mhm.
humanities degree.
Right.
Um, but knowing what I know now about the Near East and the transition into agriculture and stuff makes me kind of want to go back and reread it and see how I interpret some of the
That'd be
stories.
interesting. A lot of, I mean, looking at it from an allegorical standpoint and applying the knowledge that you have from, and your anthropology studies and everything else like that, I could definitely see like if you look closely, you can see patterns that will, potentially line up with world event and other climate things. It'd be interesting to see how much of that could line up.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also one of the things where it's like hugely up to interpretation. So
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Mm, honestly, I can't really. Oh, and then at the end of the chapter, when she discusses the extinction of languages, um, but I don't think I really like that idea of extinction of languages, because I feel like even when a language no longer exists, that it had to have influenced the preceding, was it preceding or fall?
um
I don't remember vocabulary right now. Sorry, I have
oh
like the
gosh.
vocabulary of a third grader. Um, but like the following language, right? Like the language that comes after it, I feel like has to in some way have been influenced, whether it be slang or pronunciation of a word, or an addition of a vocabulary word. I don't know, right? Because I mean, think about English, how it's
Mhm.
so influenced from other languages,
Yeah.
right? Even if French died today, right, we would still have some French. And so
A
then
lot of French.
yeah, so would you really say it's extinct? I don't think so.
As a distinct language, I would definitely say it would be because like language is more than just vocabulary. You've got words, you've got the sentence structure, you've even got intonations, inflection, and all these other things that go into different languages.
Think about it this way. Dinosaurs didn't extinct. They, what's the word for it?
Evolved.
No, there's an actual word for when an animal evolves into a completely different animal. It's like extant or something. I don't know. What the heck? It's been so long since I've taken biology. I'm gonna Google this.
Mm,
Extant. That's what Google says it's pronounced. I want to say that's the word they told us in biology, but that's not the definition I'm getting. Anyways, point being, right? Dinosaurs didn't technically go extinct. They completely evolved into a different animal. So I guess that's kind of like how I think of languages. Yeah, it doesn't exist anymore, but remnants of it still exist.
are you talking about just extant evolution?
Maybe is that what it is?
Refers to the evolutionary processes acting on a species that are still alive.
Maybe. That's kind of how I think of the extinction of languages.
I mean, when you really look, get down to it, you can like apply that to everything. Everything is going to change into different things over time. That's just the way that processes work, the way that people work, all of that kind of stuff. So,
Hmm.
um, I can see what you mean, but I also think that remnants are not the same as a full language.
It's true.
Having said that, I mentioned it before, I'm not a linguist, so
I'm definitely not a linguist. Yeah. Book, not so bad. Incorporating archaeology and language and DNA and just have a map when you're reading it. Maybe don't do Audible. Maybe just buy the book. Yeah.
I mean, hold on. We'll pause here for a second because I wanna take a look on Amazon and see if they have the like actual maps in the book. So
I feel like they have to have pictures in the book. At least one point, she's describing a picture. Watch, I bet you like you open up the book and there's like this huge like fold out map that comes out. And you're like, that would have been helpful.
it's like a timeline with all of the different things. Yeah.
Yeah, ginormous timeline like branching out everywhere. And we're like,
Hmm.
well, we missed all that. What happens when you do Audible? I love Audible, but not every book provides PDFs, and I'm just like, man, the PDF would be really helpful right now.
Well, the Kindle version is only $10.
The only problem is I never have time to sit down and read. I'm always listening to the books like when I'm driving, when I'm walking the dogs, washing dishes.
I'll say this, the book for the hard copy and for the Kindle is not that's not too expensive. Like for this kind of book, I expect it to be, usually in the like 40 to $60
Really?
range.
I would have
That's
thought
what
20
I've
to
been
50.
seeing. But it's in the $30 for a hardcover.
Yeah, I don't. Who buys hardcovers? You have to be like super. You're rich if you splurge on hardcover books.
We'll buy hardcovers for like specific books that we really like.
Like, I'm getting pretty old, so I'm fairly financially stable, but I still will not spend like a hardcover
Only
book.
on special books. And that's like a once a year type thing. But yeah.
Yeah.
Um
And the only time I actually buy like an actual book is like if I'm traveling and I need something to, I actually like, I'm in the airplane or a train and oh, look, I'm sitting here and have 3 hours to kill? But even then, the planes have TVs now on each chair and I'm just like watching my dramas.
yeah. I
Uh,
last time I took a flight, I just had my laptop with me, and I think I actually spent the entire trip reading for this podcast. So,
yeah, I think last time I picked a book out for, I think it was like The Train to Busan or something. I
mhm.
was reading some Stephen King book. And the reason I got it was because I really like The Shining and it. But this one I was reading was not, I didn't even finish it. It got really boring, surprisingly. But
Okay, so I found a review. It says this is the great version. I bought the Kindle and the Audible versions because the argument sometimes is quite dense, and it's worthwhile to be able to see the maps. Yeah,
there's freaking maps. Why is there no
maps.
PDF? Audible. We need the PDFs.
Yeah, if you're selling the Audible and it's something that would be included in the regular book, you should include that.
Please include the PDFs. I bet you I see. It's probably the big old unfolding map in the middle, like right when you open it. It's probably
Hmm.
all in color. It's probably color coded.
Yeah, I would color code it if I was making that. While it is really a joy to have someone read the words as they say it pronounced during the linguistic sections, my only criticism is the mental gymnastics performed to pretend that PIE speaking invaders of Europe didn't violently conquer the continent. I mean,
That human history were assholes.
yeah, they've got a point. This person definitely has a point, and that's I don't necessarily think that it would be a violent conquering, depending on the group that was actually settling. There's a lot of land in Europe. Like people we look at it in comparison to places like the entirety of the United States and the entirety of the rest of the Indo-European continent, and we think it's a small place, but it's a lot of land.
Well, that yes, I guess that human beings are ginormous a-holes and
We are
We
very,
destroy communities and commit genocide. Let's just be real. We're a horrible species. But
uh,
would have been when we're talking about language in this particular book, would it have been beneficial and useful?
I think that being, realistic about like what we are as a species. We are a violent species at time, but we also have a penchant for working together. And you can see that
Mhm.
in trade networks. You can see that in the like state level communications and all these other systems that we have in
Yeah.
place that allow us to be as successful as we are. Trying to like trying to look at it from a realistic standpoint, yes, there are going to be some groups that will violently conquer others.
Hmm.
And that's a successful strategy. It works. But groups working together and finding ways to succeed based on each other's strengths is also a proven strategy that people have used throughout history across the entirety of the world. I don't think that it's too far-fetched to think that some of the groups that settled in Europe from some of these Proto-Indo-European speakers that settled in Europe did so without violence. I don't think it's far-fetched. I think that if there was a mix, there had to be.
Hmm. I'm sure there was plenty of violence to go around, but I mean
Oh yeah.
the book I think just mainly focuses on just the movement and the spread of language. So I just don't think it would be beneficial or helpful
Yeah,
bringing that up in this book. It's not like a history of colonization. It's, I guess technically in a way it is because the language of the ruling class is going to, and that is actually kind of, she brings that up a little bit actually. Um, but I don't know. It doesn't seem
hmm
like, it just doesn't seem like it'd be necessary in this subject.
Yeah, she does definitely talk about some of the more violent incursions. There were, talk about
Hmm.
um, wars between different groups and warrior burials and other things like that that were definitely indicative of violence
Hmm.
and whatnot. So I think she includes it. It's just not the focus of this book. So
Yeah.
sorry, mental gymnastics aside, I don't think that it's too far-fetched. Like, it's not the point of the book. So even if there was some, I don't see that being it's not a main focus.
Mm-mm. No.
But overall, I would say this is a really good book. If you like linguistics, and I know, not everybody does, but if you like linguistics, it's a really cool read. I would take it with a grain of salt and maybe find some supporting documentation. That's something I didn't have time to do. I would have liked to go in and looked for some of the reference material that the author used.
Mhm. I mean, I think it's just a good book if you're interested in human history.
That's true. It's a
Yeah.
really good primer. Like if you just want to read a book that'll tell you a bit about our past and linguistics in general, it's a really cool book to read.
Hmm. Yeah. But I mean, I think that's all I have to say. I don't feel like I had a lot to say about the book,
I think we said a very small
but
amount over this long period of time. So
but I mean, I'm not a linguist. I don't know anything about, I mean, really, I don't know anything about language. I can barely speak my own language.
we need
So
we need to have a linguist on here again at some point.
that has some knowledge. So I mean, I don't feel like I can critique the actual context of the book.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Just
I
buy the
enjoyed the
book instead
writing.
of do the Audible.
Yeah, you're gonna want the maps.
Yeah, you're gonna want the maps, especially if you're not that good. Well, once again, everybody, we were discussing Proto, How One Ancient Language Went Global by Laura Spinney or Spiney. I'm gonna go Spinney. Um, you like human history? Get the book. Highly recommend getting the actual book so you can have the map. If you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. You can also find us on Audible, iTunes, Apple Podcast, and Castbox. Till next time, bye. Thank you all for listening. Distribution of Anthropotamus is in collaboration with the American Anthropological Association. Please continue to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Anthropotamus for our latest episodes, show notes, and book discussion schedule.